Hey guys, Ultimate Deadpool here, back with the part 2 of the Ash Williams chainsaw. Now, off camera, all I did was put this piece attachment back on. I think I actually did it wrong, which is fine. It can easily be redone, and it looks like I'm going to have to redo it anyway, so that's fine. So you start off this part, you're going to take this piece here, the one that's got the black portion stuck on it, or the slippery black part on it, and you're going to want to put it on its back side like this. Take the motor and the silver prong on the side, or on the bottom of it there, and very carefully line it up to where that black spot gets stuck towards. And I'm gonna have to redo something because I forgot that there are two screws here that need to be there, and right now they're holding this black portion together. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, fix that off camera real quick. All right, now that that's properly fixed, so when you put the motor on, there are two screws that go right here. So when you're done with the motor, you just want to simply make sure that everything is nice and tight, because if the screws stick out even just a little bit, it will mess up and burn up the motor when the chain is moving. So now you want to take this rotating disc, put it on the end right here, take your chain and stretch it around like so. Give it some wiggle room. Take the other half and fit it over the ring like that. And then just make sure that the chain fits on the outside of the blade. And that way, that's all put back. So now take your chainsaw blade bag. Okay, hang on, that was actually the wrong bag. That's okay. That's not a problem. So now take the screw with the nut from the top of the chainsaw and fit it. Put the nut in first, flip it over to the other side, take your screwdriver and tighten that screw on there. If you get fingerprints on the blade, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal, because if you're going to weather it just like this one, just like this, you're not going to tell anyway, and honestly, who would care? So now that you got that done, you can go ahead and put the 6 remaining screws in it as well. So I'll go ahead and show you guys some quick techniques to do this. So one, you could obviously use a drill, but if you do use a drill, be very careful, because it can strip and ruin the entire thing. Another thing you could do is just have patience. So again, when you're putting the chainsaw blade back together, you want to make sure that the chain itself is still nice and firmly on the outside. Make sure it's got the same amounts of wiggle room it did before, so that way when you screw everything back together, the chain will still be able to move when you activate the chainsaw. And I dropped a screw. Okay, I don't see where the screw went. I'm going to find it real quick. Got it. Okay, I'm going to do this part off camera. Okay, forget everything I just showed you, because I forgot you still need to add this portion of it to the actual body, which I did upgrade or repaint while I was in between shoots. I went ahead and added the silver stripe because a bunch of you were complaining that I forgot the stripe from the original this chainsaw. So first off, take the piece with the skull on it and this piece and carefully place it inside like so. Now find your screws. Always start the screws by hand. Alright, now that all 4 screws are now properly in place, you can easily pick up the chainsaw and see where it's starting to go. So, now that that's done, what you can do now is take the other half and stick it together. You don't have to, you don't have to re-screw everything. Just take some basic tape. Painter's tape is preferred, so that way it doesn't tear up the paint. But duct tape will work just as well. You're going to want to temporarily tape the halves together, because now you have to cut the hole in the back of the chainsaw so that way you can add the control switch, and so you have somewhere to stick your arm. So let me go get the cuffling for this, and I'll be back with you in just a second. Alright, for this next part, all you need is a Sharpie and your cuffling. So what you're going to want to do is to go on the outside and just trace a circle around the cuffling onto the chainsaw, so that way when you cut your hole, your cuffling will fit in relatively easily. Alright, now there are many ways you can cut the hole in this. I'm just going to use a basic Dremel with a cutting tool on the end of it. So I'm going to do that off camera to save ear damage, because this thing is loud, especially when it's cutting through this. So I'll do that off camera real quick. And one eardrum damaging time later, now you have a perfect hole that you can put your arm in and be able to operate the chainsaw. Now there's 2 problems with this. Now you have a big hole. 2, there is a peg right here that sticks out. Just break it off. You won't need it. There's another one deeper in it, right around here. So again, just snap it off. You don't need it. So on to the next thing. Alright, now you can take the other end of the chain and the chainsaw blade and fit it over again. Make sure you line up everything so that way everything is still fully functional when you're done with it. Again, it's no one's perfect, so I mean it's not a big deal. I actually got the bolt stuck in the paint, so that's not a problem, but so okay, that's the right one. I'm sure Odin makes and Brett's Groovy Chainsaws does this a lot better, but give me some slack. This is my first real tutorial saga. So it's not going to be perfect the first go round. Alright. Now to locate all of the screws for the chain, or at least the blade. Alright, so an easy way to put the chain or the saw back together is do one screw here to start off with, and do another one all the way back here on the opposite side. And again, if you get fingerprints on it, it's not a big deal. If you wanted to add the weathering effect, you're never going to tell that those fingerprints were ever there. And plus, you can always just wash it off with a wet paper towel. Where did I put the screw? There it is. There's so many screws on this table, it's not even funny. Most of them are in bags, but I tried to work ahead, and it didn't exactly work. So in case you're wondering why you can't see my face, it's just because I want to make sure that everything is dealt with on here, and that you can see everything that I do. Because that's like the whole point of a tutorial, is so that way you guys, if you ever decide to do this, you'll know how to do it. Now, there is a small thing, and it's with regards with this. So this skull piece right here, this entire circle, if you choose to paint that entire thing black, so that way when you stick this piece over it, you won't see the skull as easily. Now, I'm short in the black paint department, so I'm going to temporarily skip over that step. So, in fact, I'm not even going to add that piece to it for this YouTube series. But this skull piece right here, just paint that entire circle black and then put this on top of it. So, that's it for that part. So now, you're going to want to test this to make sure it still works. And it does. So if you've made it this far, your chainsaw should work just as good as that one. So, now for the pull starter. I need to go in the garage to get the parts. Alright, now you got the original air intake piece. So again, this is a prong right here. So what you can do is just take some pliers and just break it off or cut it off. Because you won't need that, so that way, unless you want to use the original starter, which you're more than welcome to, because it's your chainsaw, it's not mine. And then just break it off this piece too, the speaker. Now, this next part, you're going to want a hot glue gun. So I'm going to use my grandmother's hot glue gun. She won't care. So. But first, you're going to want to line this up to where the original hole for the original pull starter was. Okay, there's actually too much paint up here, so I'm just going to scratch that off a little bit there. And again, if you do get fingerprints on this part, it's not going to matter if you're adding the weathering portion of it or the weathering part to your chainsaw. So now that that's on there, go ahead and take your speaker, make sure all the wires are there, and place it into the chainsaw or to the speaker or ignition switch or whatever the hell it is, like so. Oh wait, hang on, I'm forgetting a major step. You want to take your custom made pull starter and reopen this back up and put this on the back. Make sure you have the dowel rod out, so that way when you go to pull on the pull starter, it'll come out just like so. I'm getting messy, so that's okay. Alright, now that the key retriever is in there, it's right there. Now, take your hot glue gun. And before anyone says anything, yes, this is a pink hot glue gun. It's my grandmother's. And it's October, so it's National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So, then carefully glue on the around the key retriever onto the plastic. Be careful that you don't accidentally glue the chain from the key retriever. And since I recommend using hot glue for this because hot glue dries really fast. And luckily, the pull starter or the sound that the chainsaw makes will not be blocked by the key retriever. So we're going to let that sit for a few minutes. Alright, once the glue is dry, you will have a fully working pull starter. Now you just take your speaker, place it on top of the key retriever section like that. Oops. And then just re-screw everything all back together. So my fingers are too big. So if you have small fingers or know someone who does, this part is easy. But if you're like me, and this part's not so easy, going to actually need a bigger screwdriver for that. And there are 3 screws surrounding the original exhaust and the speaker piece. So you want to go ahead and tighten all of those up first. Re-screw everything. Now you take the screws with the built-in washers for these pieces and screw those around where the speaker is, because the washers will hold the speaker in place and it won't go anywhere. Okay, come on. My fingers are too big for this. I'm going to do this off camera because this is going to take up way too much camera time. Okay, part of what makes this part so hard is the speaker is also a magnet. So, I was not aware of that the first time I did this, so that is why this part is so much more challenging than some of the other parts. And literally all it is just putting screws back together. So everything is literally magnetized. There we go. Alright, now that that's done, your speaker won't fall out. I'm just cleaning all the black plastic from cutting the hole in the chainsaw. So if you've done this part right, there's a wooden handle on the outside, and it should work just like a pull starter for an actual chainsaw. So, now that that's done, take your other half, and I screwed this up. Hold on. Well, maybe not. I'll be back. Okay, turns out there is nothing wrong with what I did, so, which is fine. No one's perfect, so I literally just spent like 15 minutes off camera trying to undo everything to find out that you can easily do everything the way it was. So, god damn it. I swear to God, I hate this magnet. Like, why the hell do speakers have magnets in them? Someone in the comments tell me why. because this is the probably the second hardest part of the entire build. And all I've done is just freaking like take some stuff apart, and now I'm missing this. God. Okay, a much easier way to do this is to just take the battery pack piece and first off, it's upside down. Slide it back into place. Like so. So now it's just a little bit easier. Basically just on the wires, portions to the speaker. That's about it though. That's about all that part's helpful for. That and there's not so much stuff scattered everywhere. Alright, so real quickly, I'm starting gaming videos again. Hopefully starting very soon. I have ordered 4 games that I used to have as a kid. And hopefully I'll be able to play them for y'all. So I hate magnets when it comes to these things. I love magnets when you're looking for a needle in a haystack, which I've never actually done. But I don't like magnets when it comes to this because this is a nightmare and a half. So, now that the speaker's all put into place, what you can do to prevent spending 15 extra minutes is while the piece is out, just simply stick your dowel rod through first and then just maneuver it around so that way it goes like that. So that's a quicker and much easier way to do what I literally just did without having to redo half of the stuff you did before. There is seriously black plastic everywhere. Okay, with this, you're going to want to make sure that you have nice firm grip on the body, because you just have to get at least one screw done first. And again, if your fingers stick to the plastic, it is not a problem. Do not freak out about it. Okay, now I have to slide the battery pack out again. Alright. There's seriously black plastic powder everywhere. I'm not seeing any extra screws, so I guess I did that right. Alright, so now you just have to put this protector back on. Okay, for some reason those are two different size screws. Okay, I may have messed up on screws, but don't worry about it. It shouldn't be a big problem. Alright. Now your chain won't go anywhere, nor will the saw. So, everything still works. So slide your battery pack back in. Now, you take your handle that you made earlier and very carefully mark where your pointer finger goes, because you're going to drill a hole through here and then stick this button straight through it, so that way when you're